Is there anywhere in Ontario where you can still buy a detached home for less than $500,000? Well, surprisingly, the answer is yes. And in this video, we're going to cover the top 10 cheapest places to still buy detached homes in Ontario, including 3 that have homes under $500,000. So, let's get to it. Hi everybody, my name is Connie Sarvanandan and I'm a real estate agent here in Toronto and the GTA. If this is your first time to the channel, then welcome. Our channel is all about education so that when you are ready to buy or sell, you feel prepared. So let's look directly at these markets that are going to be less than $500,000 for a detached home. This report that we're going to be looking at is from Narcity. And Narcity is actually quoting the Remax report. And I did a video about the Remax Hallmark 2022 report, and I'm going to link to it below so you can see that video where we go through that video with the focus on Toronto. But I'm also going to link to the report directly so that if you want to look at other cities throughout Canada, you could take a look at that. And then if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments or contact me directly. I'm happy to answer any additional questions. So let's get straight to the report and see what the cheapest cities are to buy detached homes in Ontario. Okay, as with all my recordings, I always like to refer to different articles that are out there about housing. And this article is in Narcity. And the article's title is, "These are some of the cheapest spots to buy a home in Ontario right now." And what you'll see in this is that Narcity is referring to the Remax report that they released in for 2022. And I actually did a video where I go through this report. Now, my focus of my video is about Toronto. I do talk about Canada as a whole, but the majority of the video is about Toronto and the GTA. However, I'm going to link to my video that I did, and I'm going to actually link to the Remax report so that if you want to read about other cities throughout the country, you can. And then the other thing I will mention is that, for me, I have a network of realtors across Canada and the US. And I actually have realtors in Europe as well. So if there's any city that you're interested in going to or buying in outside of the GTA, then let me know and I'm happy to connect you to other realtors. I always try and give people 1 to 3 choices of realtors so that you get a match. And obviously if you meet with those realtors and you don't want to work with them, you don't have to. But people often ask me for referrals. So I do have referrals across Canada and the US, so let me know. So what are the top 10 cities to buy a single detached home in Ontario? So these are prices for single detached homes. Obviously, the price point is going to go down as you get into semi-detached and townhouses and condos. Now, this is based on the information that we had from January to August of 2021. These numbers would have gone up because from September to December, there was increases as well. But this is going to give you a great reference and a starting point. So let's go through the top 10 cities really quickly, just so you know which ones we're talking about. So cheapest place to buy is in Thunder Bay, where we're talking about $325,000 for a detached home. And the most expensive is Hamilton at around $850,000. So it goes Thunder Bay, Sudbury, North Bay, Kingston, Muskoka, London, Peterborough, Niagara, Ottawa, and Hamilton. And what's interesting about this is that what you will notice is that the closer you are to Toronto, generally that's the more expensive it is. So Hamilton is by far the closest and definitely the most expensive. It's not true for everything, but that's kind of a benchmark. So when it comes to Thunder Bay, the average price point is $325,000, which is pretty incredible for a detached home. And then Sudbury, we're looking at $400,000, and then North Bay is also around $400,000. So those three are really where you get the most bang for your buck when it comes to Ontario. And they're all going to be under around 400,000 or less. And then you make a big jump as you get into Kingston, because then we're talking 631,000. So let's look at exactly where Thunder Bay, Sudbury, and North Bay are. So if we go to our Google Maps, you can see where everything is in comparison to Toronto. So this is Thunder Bay. This is Toronto over here. So it's about a 15-hour car ride to Thunder Bay, and it's about a 2-hour flight. So definitely not close. And also, if you're trying to get back to Toronto for any reason, you're going to have to plan it, just because it is a flight or a long drive. Now, it's pretty close to a lot of other places like the US and other parts of Ontario. But from Toronto itself, it's about a 15-hour drive. The next on the list is, so that's Toronto. That's Thunder Bay. Next on the list was Sudbury. Sudbury is about a 4-hour drive from Toronto, so much more palatable. And then number 3 was North Bay, and North Bay is about 3.5 hours from Toronto. North Bay and Sudbury are very similar to Ottawa when you think about distances from Toronto. So those are the top 3, and those are the 3 that are under 500,000. If we go back to the list, after that, you got Kingston, Muskoka, London. Kingston, just for reference, is over here. Kingston is about 2.5 hours from Toronto. That's where Queen's University is. London is about 2 hours from Toronto. That's where the University of Western is. And then what were the other ones? We got Muskoka, which is also about 2 hours, 2.5 hours north of Toronto. That's also Lake Country. Peterborough is about an hour and a half from Toronto. Niagara is an hour and a half. Ottawa is about 3.5 to 4 hours. And then Hamilton is, an hour. So that kind of gives you a benchmark of where you can go in Ontario to get these houses. So, your closest is going to be Hamilton. And then you got Kingston and London and places like that are Niagara. There's places like that are also palatable. I went to school in London, and that 2 hours, I used to take the train. Oftentimes I take a bus. It's pretty doable and close to Toronto if that's what you're looking for. So let's go back to this list and look at Thunder Bay in particular. So if you're talking about Thunder Bay and you're thinking about, okay, I'm done with Toronto and crazy housing prices, I want to move to Thunder Bay. So what is it about Thunder Bay that you should know? Well, first of all, Thunder Bay is going to be about 110,000 people in population, so much smaller than Toronto. It's right on Lake Superior. So it is a nature lover's heaven. It's going to be colder for sure. I think winter temperatures are going to be similar to Toronto right now based on what we're experiencing, but it's considered colder. But the summer temperatures for sure are cooler in Thunder Bay than Toronto. So if you're looking for hot, humid summer, Thunder Bay is not your place. You're talking probably between 17 and 20 degrees for Thunder Bay for the summer. When you look at what else Thunder Bay would have to offer, it's got Lakehead University, it's got your employers in Thunder Bay, you're going to have the university, you're going to have healthcare, you're going to have the school system, because schools are you have a choice of public or private schools in Canada, and public schools are a big employer. So there's definitely different options. I would say that if you were going to choose Thunder Bay, you would want to make sure that you're actually in the city and not in the remote parts of Thunder Bay, just because you want to get as many of the services as possible. But that's really the big difference, is the population size and the distance from Toronto. But it would be a slower pace of life, and you would definitely get more value for your money when it comes to Thunder Bay. Now, if you want to stick to something closer and you're looking for more value that's much closer, then there's all these other cities that we talked about that have a lot of what Toronto has, especially places like Hamilton. Actually, most of these places on the list, like Kingston, Muskoka. Muskoka will be a little bit more remote, but Kingston, London, Peterborough, Niagara, Ottawa, and Hamilton, those are now, the cities are pretty thriving. If you look at Kingston, it's got a university, it's got the penitentiary, there's lots of development in Kingston. London also has a university, Peterborough has a university, Niagara has a university, Ottawa has a university, and Hamilton has a university. So those are all university towns, so they're also good for investment properties, things like that. And I think then overall, when you look at Ontario and you look at where we're talking about looking for properties that are more affordable, they are still within the Toronto. There's a lot of them that are still within that 2-hour range for Toronto. I have a friend who actually lives in London, and she works for TD, and she would there's a bus that leaves London and comes to Toronto, because TD was bringing a lot of people into Toronto, and they would work in Toronto for the day and then take the bus back. I'm sure they'll do it with trains as well, but it's, that's a way of commuting. And then if you don't have to go into the office all the time, that allows you to do that commute without going nuts. So that's it. I hope this was helpful. The purpose of me showing you this is to say that there are places where you can find a detached home that is more affordable than Toronto. If you look at the average price for Toronto, for a detached home, we're over 1.5 million. So these are definitely much more affordable. But even within Toronto, if you're willing to look at something like a condo or other things like that, then you can get closer to that 500,000 price point for starter condos and different types of property like that. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Like I said, this channel is all about education. So the more questions you ask, whether it be in the comments or reach out to me directly, the more questions we can answer. We love educating you about everything about real estate in Toronto and the GTA. And I love making videos that matter to you. There's no point in me doing them unless they do. So if you have feedback, good or bad, I'd love to hear it. And if you have any real estate needs, feel free to call, text, email, or WhatsApp, and we'll be sure to take care of you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.